From the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel, this is Wake Up Weather.
Good Tuesday morning to you. I'm Kelly Rawson here in the Tennessee Valley Weather Center. We have a busy time right now. We are very locked and loaded here in the weather world here in the Tennessee Valley. So make sure you have your caffeine, stay here for a while because we have a lot to talk about. We have intense heat. We have the potential for maybe a strong storm or two, and I'll let you know when that threat will start to creep into the Tennessee Valley. We also have the potential for flooding here in the Tennessee Valley. So a lot to go over, as well as getting you out the door on this Tuesday morning. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. The good news is we are dry this morning, not scanning anything on live Doppler radar. So I'm not even going to show that because we have a lot of graphics to get to this morning. But let's go ahead and start with the first thing that will impact us, and that will be the intense heat. We do have yet again a heat advisory in effect for today, just like yesterday. In fact, I do think we may even be just a few degrees warmer today compared to yesterday, but that heat advisory in effect for our entire viewing area for this afternoon and early evening. Not expecting much rain, at least during the afternoon here, so I do think the heat will get pretty intense with heat index values between 105 to 108 degrees for today. So again, intense heat expected. We also have the potential for flooding with any thunderstorms that do develop on the off chance they do develop this afternoon and then into the overnight. We have a flood watch in effect for much of southern Middle Tennessee. It includes Marshall County, Murray County, Lewis County, Giles County, Lawrence County, and Wayne County in southern Middle Tennessee. These are places where it has rained pretty heavily over the last several weeks, if not months. So water levels are up. So it doesn't take much to get some flooding or maybe even some flash flooding issues, again, with the chance for thunderstorms into tonight and overnight. And speaking of thunderstorms tonight and overnight, we do have a level 1 out of 5 risk for storms, mainly after midnight looks to be the time frame, and I'll show you here on Futurecast why we may not be so concerned about this overnight threat. However, I can't completely rule out a line of storms to our north holding together, but I'm not just so convinced of that. But we'll go ahead and break down everything that you need to know heading into for the rest of today, honestly, and then for tonight, we have a lot to discuss. Again, for this morning, we are dealing with just a little bit of fog and a little bit of reduced visibility, but not quite as reduced as yesterday. You can see that here on our Arctic Air Heating and Air Conditioning Skycam network. So that's at least some good news this morning. We're off to a little bit of an easier start compared to yesterday, but we're looking at just a nice and calm scene really across the entire area. So again, not a bad start to the day, but we are going to be feeling the heat here in the next few hours once that sun really peaks up. Now, visibility, again, we are dealing with a little bit of patchy fog across the area, not as widespread as it was yesterday, but some reduced visibility, especially in some rural areas across the Tennessee Valley into Giles County. You see 0 miles of visibility out there. So again, just be mindful if you encounter some fog this morning, but again, not as foggy as yesterday if you're looking for any sort of comparison. Now, temperatures, again, we are starting off warm and we are going to be feeling some intense heat by this afternoon. We're talking temperatures already in the mid 70s as opposed to the lower 70s where we have been over the last several mornings. Mid 70s to start off the day. That is just a sign of what is to come. Here you can see hour by hour of what we can expect with air temperatures as well as what it's going to be feeling like outside. Air temperatures in red, what it's going to be feeling like in purple heading into this afternoon. Again, heat index values into the triple digits between 105 to 108 degrees. So today, just like yesterday, is going to be a day you want to take breaks in the air conditioning. You want to stay extra hydrated. You want to be plopped in a pool somewhere or in a body of water, again, or just staying inside. You have to be outside if you work outdoors. Remember, stay hydrated. A cold rag with some ice goes a long way. Again, heat intense once again at heat advisory in effect this afternoon into the early evening. So let's go ahead and talk about the storms for later on today. I should really say tonight, because for today, our rain chances are relatively low, and that's why we are going to be a little bit hotter than yesterday. But clouds will be around, but a partly cloudy sky expected, still sunshine expected to beam down on us and warm us up pretty easily into those mid 90s for today. Again, going to be very humid as well. I can't completely rule out a stray thunder shower or two popping up later on this afternoon. If that does develop, we are going to see the chance for some very heavy rainfall, but otherwise, again, still looking relatively dry by about 3 o'clock. So again, different than yesterday. We should be relatively dry this afternoon. Again, just a chance for an isolated thunder shower or two this afternoon and early evening. And then for tonight, we will be watching this thunderstorm complex developing well to our north, maybe even some strong to severe storms well to our north. But then as it dives down south into our area, you see here how it just really doesn't hold together. So again, if the storms do hold together, should be around or just after midnight for our far northern counties in southern middle Tennessee. But again, I'm not thinking they really hold together all that much heading into the early morning hours of Wednesday. On the off chance that they do survive a little bit more south than what a lot of the models and even are thinking, we are going to see, again, maybe a stronger storm or two with some brief gusty winds and some small hail. That's erring on the side of caution. I do think most of these thunderstorms lose their steam and fizzle out, especially before they make it to the state line between Tennessee and Alabama. So again, is the potential for those storms to hold together there? Yes. Is it likely? Not so likely, but of course we'd rather err on the side of caution, especially with it being overnight. Not looking at a tornado threat, again, just looking at some isolated damaging wind gusts and maybe some small hail. Again, a lower end type threat looking to be mainly concentrated more to the north of the Tennessee Valley. But again, the off chances there for that to linger a little bit further southward. So again, we're just going to err on the side of caution for the overnight time period. And then for the rest of your Wednesday, we're looking at a few isolated thunder showers, but we're going to notice a change in the air Wednesday and into Thursday because a cold front is actually going to be bringing us that, I should say, weakening line of storms overnight for tonight. And then we are going to cool off. Yes, cool off heading into Thursday. That is a nice phrase to use for late July here in the South. But overall, Thursday should be mostly dry here in the Tennessee Valley, maybe a lingering shower or two into parts of North Alabama south of the Tennessee River. You see Tropical Storm Bertha here picking up on our regional futurecast model. I'll talk more about Tropical Storm Bertha here in just a moment. Not looking at local impacts, but it may keep rain and clouds nearby towards the end of the week. Heading into Friday, we are right back into our summertime late July pattern with scattered daily storm chances returning heading into the weekend as well. So we're going to enjoy that brief little break while we've got it. Wednesday, second half of Wednesday, I should say, and then into Thursday. Now temperatures, again, like I said, yes, a cold front bringing us these the weakening line of storms for the overnight time period. We go from the mid 90s today to the mid 80s by Thursday. So we'll have some more refreshing air, at least briefly, and then we're right back to those upper 80s to lower 90s heading into the weekend. So it's going to be short-lived, but hey, we will take any cool off that we can get. So checking in on the tropics this morning, we do have Tropical Storm Bertha out in the Gulf churning. It is mostly offshore right now, but still creating some wind as well as some storm surge along the Gulf Coast, anywhere from Florida all the way extending over to parts of Louisiana, eventually to Texas as well. So let's go ahead and track out Bertha because again, we are not going to be seeing any sort of direct impacts here in the Tennessee Valley. Still working on that northwestward trend before it starts due west, heading towards parts of Louisiana, kind of hugging the coastline as it does so, expected to weaken and then kind of fizzle out over land out into Texas. So again, not expected to meander northward towards us here in the Tennessee Valley, but like you saw in our regional futurecast model, that cold front going to be trying to push that moisture out. Tropical Storm Bertha has a lot of moisture with it, so we may see some moisture trapped and maybe some lingering showers and thunderstorms later this week. South of us mostly, but that is pretty much the only potential impact that we have. Otherwise, we are just going to be back into our typical summertime pattern. But those folks on the Gulf Coast will certainly be feeling the effects, whether it's showers and storms, several inches of rain, or even just some storm surge and rip currents out there, making the waters quite rough. Back here at home for this morning, again, maybe some patchy fog here within the next hour or so. Otherwise, fog not too bad of an issue for this morning, which is certainly some good news. But then that heat is going to be cranking up very quickly. Lower 80s by 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. I should say, and then we are going to be in the mid 90s by this afternoon. So for the rest of today, we'll see a mixture of sunshine and clouds again between lunch and dinner time, maybe a stray pop-up thunder shower. Mostly dry though for the rest of today. It's not until the overnight time period where we do have the potential for that weakening and fizzling out line of storms. Maybe some brief gusty winds, maybe some small hail. Otherwise, I really think the storms are going to be falling apart and really not going to be amounting to much. So just keep that in mind. The off chance is there, but I think we are going to be just okay. Again, but the time frame looks to be after midnight tonight for any sort of potential thunderstorms moving into the Tennessee Valley. For your Wednesday, a few isolated thunderstorms and thunder showers may linger. Otherwise, we're really going to be clearing out, and that air is going to be feeling less heavy by the time we get to Thursday, mid-80s. For your Thursday afternoon high temperatures. So going to be feeling not too bad Thursday, maybe a stray shower south of the Tennessee River, otherwise dry for your Thursday, again feeling a little bit more refreshing before we get right back to our summertime pattern heading into the weekend. All good things can't last long and must come to an end, especially for this anomaly here in late July. But hey, we will take a little bit of a break from this miserable summertime pattern, even if it is just 1 day's worth. Let's look at your local weather forecast on this Tuesday morning. I hope you stay cool for today. Going to be another very hot day. Again, potential storms later on after midnight tonight.
You're watching the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel.
Whether you need assistance